afternoon and welcome to First Financial Biz Beat presented by the Business Courier. I'm Kyla Woods. Well, our new normal looks like it's going to stay here for a while. Ohio's stay-at-home order is extended for another month, and nowhere will that be felt more than at local restaurants. On the front page centerpiece this week, for Cincinnati's booming restaurant scene, the tables have turned. Restaurants are at the heart of Cincinnati's renaissance. They fueled the growth of neighborhoods like OTR, Pendleton, and Pleasant Ridge. But the coronavirus hit them hard and hit them first. Jean Robert closed his fine dining spot, Restaurant L, for good. Christian Gill, another popular chef, owner of Boomtown Biscuits and Whiskey, doesn't know if he'll be able to reopen when this is over. Analysts say that will be the case for more than 50% of restaurants. The pandemic will change the dining scene forever. Courier reporter Andy Brownfield sat down with several of the city's biggest chefs and restaurateurs, and he joins us via Skype to talk about what they think the future holds. Hi, Andy.
Hi.
Well, let's jump right in. So what are you hearing from restaurateurs about the kind of impact that they think this will happen, and maybe some of, or that they think this will have, and then some of the relief they're anticipating from the Stimulus Act?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty. The Stimulus Act is a 800-page bill that includes a lot of provisions. The one that's most applicable to restaurants is about $350 billion loan fund that will help them as long as they meet or maintain certain payroll quotas pre-coronavirus. So it's really hard, you know, when they are forced to lay off their staffs or close their doors to dine-in service to bring back all of their workers in order to qualify for these loans. And there's a lot of confusion as to how that's going to work. It's a very rapidly moving situation, so it changes day to day.
You're absolutely right. There have been so many changes just over the last couple of weeks. We also have the new program, the Paycheck Relief Program, I think, launching today through SBA. So I know a lot of small business owners will be applying for that as well, combing through so much paperwork and so much language to try to understand what's best for them. But like you said, so many of them are figuring it out each day. What have you heard as far as landlords, or what are restaurant owners anticipating from landlords as far as being able or being impacted by the coronavirus?
Well, that's tough because these landlords, they have their own loans to pay off, so they can't just wave a magic wand and say, hey, don't pay us rent this month, because then they're not going to be able to pay their mortgages on those buildings. But a lot of them have been working with their lenders. 3CDC, for instance, yesterday announced, or it was actually on Thursday announced, that they had renegotiated a lot of their loans and secured payments of only interest for the next 90 days from a lot of their lenders, so they are able to offer some relief to their tenants. Their bar and restaurant tenants will only have to pay a percentage of their sales if they're making any sales at all. And their retail tenants are having their rents forgiven for at least the months of April and May. And I've also spoken with the CEO of Urban Sites, another large private developer, and he said that he's worked with his lenders as well and is working with each tenant individually to see their needs and offer relief when possible. And he expects that they will be collecting maybe 50% of their expected rent for the next at least 2 months.
I know a lot of folks are trying to work with their landlords, not just in the restaurant industry. I think everyone across the board, you know, a lot of folks are looking to try to make those arrangements. And we've been also trying to emphasize that even if they receive that relief, they do still have to pay. So they might get a break for now, but it's still going to end up being a payment. I think that's important for folks to understand as well. Can you talk a little bit about the Cincy Card Connection? So a group came together to try to help out the restaurant industry?
Yeah, this is actually a pretty incredible story. 3CDC tapped into $20,000 of its own budget that came as it merged with Downtown Cincinnati Incorporated back in the beginning of 2019. And along with Empower and Procter & Gamble, they created a total of a $37,500 fund to help match gift cards purchased by Cincinnatians to put some cash into the pockets of these businesses that are impacted. And they're not just 3CDC tenants either. Any business in downtown or over the Rhine where a Cincinnatian purchases a gift card, this fund will match that gift card dollar for dollar at a similar but different business. So let's say I go out and buy a gift card to Nada. They'll send me a gift card in that same amount to another restaurant like Bakersfield. And the incredible thing is that this matching fund in less than 24 hours was completely depleted because of the overwhelming support that these businesses got from Cincinnatians. So now there is $75,000, thanks to 3CDC, Empower, and Procter & Gamble, in the pockets of our downtown and over-the-Rhine businesses.
That is wonderful to hear. I think that's the bright spot that we all need right now. Hopefully we'll also be able to continue to support that fund. Thank you so much for joining us. Andy Brownfield with the Business Courier. We'll keep our eye on that story as it continues to develop.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the virus is leaving the city of Cincinnati with massive deficits, and that's forcing furloughs of almost 1,700 people. Mayor John CRANLEY was extremely emotional during that announcement.
You do not deserve this. You did nothing to deserve this. It is not your fault. This is only temporary. You will be back.
Such a difficult time for so many leaders in our city right now. The 4-week furloughs include 650 full-time and 1,000 part-time workers. Mayor CRANLEY, the city manager, and the heads of departments will all take 10% pay cuts. With the surge of coronavirus cases in the tri-state, the Duke Energy Center might be converted into a makeshift hospital. The National Guard joined city leaders to tour the inside of the convention center. Mayor CRANLEY says it would not be for coronavirus patients. America's largest companies are also sending workers home. GE, one of the largest manufacturing employers in Cincinnati, is furloughing half of its manufacturing workforce for at least 4 weeks. And Macy's is telling the majority of its 125,000 employees that they will also be furloughed. All of the company's 775 locations have been closed since March 18th. Kroger, however, is hiring. The Cincinnati-based grocer is in the midst of hiring 2,000 new employees and at the same time giving its employees on the front lines what it's calling a hero bonus. All in-store, supply chain, manufacturing, pharmacy, and call center associates are getting a $2 per hour pay raise. Kroger says sales soared at a pace of about 30% last month. Construction is also essential, but Journey Steel President Barb Smith says expenses have increased. For example, she's had to order more tools so employees are not sharing. Sales are also dwindling and future projects are up in the air. That's why the company is applying for the SBA's new economic injury disaster loan.
One bad job, meaning that a job that loses money or is not as productive can put a small company out of business. This pandemic we're treating as perhaps one of our bad jobs.
The company is hoping to get anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. Smith says that will give the company the cash flow it needs to be able to weather this storm. Real estate is another essential business, but fewer showings are forcing agents to think outside the box. Many realtors are now relying on virtual tours, like you can see here, which in turn is making buyers more focused. One realtor we talked to says while it's still a seller's market for most homes, the pandemic has evened the playing field for more expensive homes. Big money homes are the topic of this week's Book of Lists. We'll tell you the most expensive home sales later on in this broadcast. Healthcare workers are not just putting their lives on the line caring for coronavirus patients. When they return home, their family members are potentially exposed to the virus. A company called Arriva has 50 properties like these all across Cincinnati. And right now, they're available to healthcare workers for free.
I think we have a really awesome opportunity to give back because we've got all these properties that are vacant, and it's just a perfect aha moment for us to fill the need.
You know, you always want to protect yourself, and that's the easy part. But if you don't know, like many people don't know that they're carrying this awful virus around and they can spread it, I don't want to worry about having to do that. Me being sick is fine, but my parents being sick would be devastating for me and my whole family.
Healthcare workers can stay in the units for up to 2 months. Well, everyone staying home means the spotlights are dim on local performers, so artists are getting creative. Tin Roof is hosting quarantine concerts on Facebook Live. You may have seen some of these. Danny Scott owns Fishbowl at the Banks across the street. He was also having artists plan to play in an empty room while streaming live on social media.
Way bigger than we thought. We had probably about 5,000 views. A lot of people started donating. That was something we kind of came up with at the last minute was, hey, maybe we could put up like a link and maybe people can tip a couple bucks for a song or something. And the first night, Brad made like $700 in donations. So that wasn't what we expected, but definitely a kind gesture and pretty cool.
Scott's now helping artists produce shows from basements and bedrooms. He says he's taking this time to improve the business and to come back better than ever. Up next on First Financial Biz Beat, how a janitor built a multi-million-dollar oil empire. That's coming up after the break. Welcome back. General Motors, Honda, FedEx, well, they all get some of their gas from the same place, Hightowers Petroleum. Steve Hightower was 18 when a steel company manager told him to go to college. He did, and then he started working for his father as a janitor, eventually buying and selling the company. And then he founded Hightowers. All that before he turned 27. And since then, the Middletown company has exploded, and Hightower says there's a simple reason why.
Bringing in real quality people. Everything is really not me, it's my people and how they service our customers, how we're responsive to our customers, and those are the kind of things that really grow a business, not the owner, but the actual employees that actually make the owner look good.
Great advice there. Well, Vanessa Freitag knows a thing or two about running successful companies. She's headed up a few before getting to her current job at 4C for Children. She chatted about that a few weeks ago with First Financial Retail Region President Ilaria Rollins.
Thanks, Kyla. Vanessa, thanks for coming and spending time with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about 4C for Children?
So 4C for Children is an organization, a nonprofit, and our job is to teach the teachers. So we work with the child care program teachers who are working with children ages 0 to 5. And as we help the teachers with their education and their early childhood education, that helps to ensure that children are kindergarten ready.
That's great. You have been instrumental in leading through change. Tell us a little bit about why you felt change was necessary and how did you get that started?
So I joined 4C about 4 years ago. I took over after an iconic CEO, Sally Westheimer, retired, who had been there for 35 years. And when I joined the organization, one of the things that I did was start to look at the data, the numbers. How were we doing? What were our responsibilities? And pretty quickly, I realized that the state of Ohio had put in place a law that says by June 30 of 2020, every child care program that serves families who get assistance from the state needs to reach a quality threshold. And when I did the math on the numbers, what I saw was we had 1,000 programs that needed help, and we were only increasing the quality with 2 or 3% of those programs any given year. So something had to change.
Absolutely. With change comes fear. How did you create kind of that safe zone for your employees to try new things and be inspired to be led through the change?
Two things. First is I went on a listening tour to all of our regions and really asked throughout our agency what they thought made our agency great. So understanding that is important, I think, before you start to implement change. And I was brand new to the organization. One of the next things I did was I created something called Fail Forward Fridays. And what I said was, we need to figure out what to do. There's no roadmap. No other organizations like ours had any idea how to increase the pace. So let's just try things. And I would only allow them to email me the failures. And what I wanted to know is, what did you try? Why did it fail? What did we learn? And what are we going to try next? And it really helped people understand that failing doesn't mean that you fail. It just means we've learned something.
I love that. I love that it gave the employees kind of that freedom and that comfort zone. How do you balance the importance of honoring the past while knowing that you need to change things going forward?
Absolutely. So I also dug in and really tried to understand what are the principles that made 4C for Children, a successful organization for more than 45 years by the time I arrived. They had to be doing many things right. So a good example was recognizing that relationships were the core of working with child care providers and child care teachers. It can be a very isolating industry, and it can be quite chaotic if you've ever been in a child care classroom, and you really have to earn their trust. But we believed that you could only earn that trust one-on-one. We could only work with one teacher at a time. And so we challenged that assumption and said, okay, let's hang on to the core of the importance of relationships, but let's see if we can build relationships in groups. And we created something called the cohort method. And then we could have 8, 10, or even 15 child care program teachers together. And yet, what we learned was you can build very deep relationships in a group. It doesn't just have to be one-on-one.
That's great. That's great. Vanessa, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
It's my pleasure.
KYLA, back to you.
Thank you, Ilaria and Vanessa. Well, up next, we'll show you the most expensive homes that sold last year in Cincinnati. And the head of UC's College of Business will join us to talk about campus life without students. Julia Wesselkamper was essentially born to sell homes. She comes from a family of realtors and got her license right after high school. When she started, she connected with sellers who had been unable to sell their homes. So she began staging homes, which wasn't common at that time. Staging, she says, is the key to selling a luxury home.
The transition from a property being a home versus a product is critical. And to be able to properly present it, one ideally stages it to allow for the buyers who come through to be able to envision themselves living there.
And usually around this time, college seniors are gearing up for their last batch of finals and, of course, graduation. Well, the coronavirus has changed all of that. And Courier publisher Jamie Smith talked with Dr. Marianne Lewis, Dean of UC's Business School, to talk about these uncertain times.
Thank you, KYLA. Marianne, thanks for being in the studio today, the semi-studio we call it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. You know, I know this is not the way you expected to end your first year back at UC with faculty and students not on campus. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys are transitioning through this?
It's been a remarkable period, Jamie, but I know it is for everybody in different industries, different contexts. For us at UC and specifically at Lindner, it's meant that in truly record time, we've converted over 550 courses to remote learning and all of our advising and career services to remote services. I mean, that's enabled all sorts of opportunities as well as a host of challenges, but it's been a remarkable collaborative and innovative period.
Now, are the students adapting fairly well?
So far, it has been an exceptional adaptation, both by the faculty, staff, and the students. I mean, one of the nice things I've seen, though, is that when problems have happened on either side, the first reaction is to work together and to co-create a solution. And to me, that's where it has to begin. I mean, we've worked at the college, and certainly UC is working at the university level to build systems that can support. But in this period of remarkable change and uncertainty, the ultimate level of interaction is the human to human. And that's where we're seeing the best impact, I think.
Right. Well, I've known you for a long time, and I like to think that you and I are a lot alike. We're cup half full people, not cup half empty. Do you think we're going to come out of this after this pandemic with some learnings that we didn't expect to get?
Oh, you know I do. I mean, absolutely. But, you know, I think there's the learnings piece. I think the others I would note, I mean, Harvard Business Review just had an article about the power of resilience, and that the big two factors are optimism, being a big driver, and gratitude. So I think the glass half full approach or mindset is benefiting all of us, even in this process. But I think to your question about the outcomes, you know, we will get back to quote unquote normal, but it won't be the same because we've all learned so much, and from my world, particularly about remote learning and remote service. So we will have a different approach to technology. Working through all the glitches, all the needs will make us more adaptable in the future. it's also shown us what's possible. And when students and faculty and staff need things outside of the usual hours or outside of the usual face-to-face mode, we'll be better suited to do just that. And I think the other piece of learning is really around the community piece. One of the reasons I came back to UC and to Cincinnati is I love the community here. People care about each other. It's mutually supportive. And in this particular crisis, you see that every single day, Jamie, and you see it in ways that remind everyone that's why we're here. Yes, it's for a bigger impact, and in my world, it's about learning, but it's about the human. It's about how do we help each other thrive. And so I think we will be stronger for it, not only on the technology and the learning side, but in our community.
Great. It's a great way to get me to my final question. In closing, what do you think the university and the Lindner College of Business need right now from the Cincinnati business community? What can we do to kind of help you continue your mission and get you back to normal as soon as we can?
You know, I think one of the critical hallmarks that we all know about UC is co-op, but it's not just about work, as in work and then go to school and work and go to school. It's about cooperative. And in fact, I just got off at 8451 and we were asking the same question: is the ultimate need for us is to continue to fuel this virtuous cycle that is help us learn together, adjust together. I mean, from right now, we're working with our employers. How do we manage co-ops and internships? How do we support you in full-term hires? And likewise, what are you seeing on the industry side that says we need to make adjustments and we can continuously improve our curriculum and our programming and experiences? So to me, it's about this co-creation of knowledge and talent. Right. And that's something that was there before the COVID pandemic, but it's something that after, I think, again, back to your second question, we'll be stronger for it in the future.
You know what? Thank you so much. I am so pleased to have you and the rest of the great professionals up at the University of Cincinnati helping to lead us through this. As I said, I'm a glass half full person. I know we're going to get through it. I know we're going to learn some things. And as you just said, we're all going to be better for it. So thank you so much. Thank the university, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Jamie, and the same to you.
All right. Bye. KYLA, back to you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And thank you for joining us this afternoon for First Financial BizBeat. I'm KYLA Woods. I hope you have a great weekend.